Well, good morning or good evening. I don't know when you will watch this. We had hoped to be up with you much sooner in the year. We wanted to show you the Nkoya Bible, which came into print in December and arrived in Zambia at the end of the year. But because of the lockdown, we've not been able to come up and let you touch and handle it. It's a lovely book. You would enjoy seeing it. Sometime soon, I hope we can get up there. The senior translator, Mufaya, in Zambia, is harvesting with all his other country people in the west of Zambia. He's been several weeks out in the field. He comes back into town for the weekend only. And last week he had 3 boys from his family with him, and they came back into town with malaria. So he left them there and he's back out again this week. The dedication should be coming up, and Margaret and I are not going to be able to be there for it because of all the lockdown on this side and also on the Zambia side. And in any case, the churches have all been closed for several weeks there by government request because of the size of the gathering and the coronavirus, and closed. And the people were told, as we've been told, to do a lot of hand washing with soap or sanitizer. The problem in Africa is that you only get running water in the towns, and only in the better parts of the towns. The poorer areas and towns do not have running water. Hand washing would be a bucket with a tap at the bottom, and you run your hands under the water and soap them and rinse them. This would be the same at churches. And of course in the countryside that's the only possibility, and so hand washing is a much more difficult thing to do regularly and often. Yes, they do it before eating every meal, they do it before and after meals, but it is not done as easily as turning on the tap, and so churches were closed down for safety reasons. It's really quite interesting that Zambia has got less than 100 reported cases of the virus and only 3 deaths. That's amazingly likely that they're getting off this. I think the reason is that Africa several years ago was panicked by the Ebola crisis and set up systems for testing incoming air travellers at the airports. They tested them for fever, and then they traced them in their contacts through the population if there was any risk at all developing. And so they were for this virus, the African countries were up and running very, very quickly. Another factor is, of course, their younger population. It's not as elderly a population as here in Europe or UK. And these things have held the numbers down, but they did react very, very quickly to get testing and tracing done from the airports and around the country. Churches are being allowed to open if they make proper arrangements from now on. They must have hand washing facilities, they must wear face masks, and they must stand in church 1 meter apart. Now that is just not going to happen. Africa is so much into handshaking when they greet people that they just are not going to understand that they are not allowed to shake hands. In some cultures, including the Nkoya, they give a short clap as they meet people in the street and before they're close enough to handshake, and that will continue. In other cultures, they put their hand like this on their chest, and that will do, but nothing really replaces the handshake. Whether the churches will open from this weekend, we'll just have to wait and see. If I can turn to Ethiopia and talk about that, it's another country where we have worked and have interest. We know several people living and working there. The number of cases in Ethiopia of the virus is something like 130, and I think only 1 death to this point. It's the same story. They reacted very, very quickly to incoming passengers at the airport, tested and traced them, and kept the numbers down. They're also in lockdown like Zambia, and people are having to work from home if they can work at all. In the countryside, that will be very, very different, as you can imagine. But the work has hindered translation work. Translation teams cannot gather together day by day in the office to keep their work going. And office work in the capital city, getting manuscripts ready for the printer, just are slowed down enormously. I think Margaret mentioned the Gamo translation. It's one of 3 Bibles that we've worked on in recent years, Gamo, Gofa and Dauro. And 2 of those Bibles are ready to go to the printer. The 3rd one is not. They're still struggling with getting the spelling right. And of course, this is really being slowed down by the virus. Let me again just say our greetings, Shangwe, as they would say in Zambia, or Xabiristelling, as they would say in Ethiopia. Thank you for all your gifts and support for us, your prayers also. We appreciate that. Our work continues from home. I continue to write, and as I write and finish papers, they get published or put online and made available to other translators. So that work is going on, and we thank you for your support in doing that. Lord be with you during this bad lockdown period.
Hello. I want to thank you all for supporting us. Our children have all lived and been part of our time in Inverness Baptist Church. We've worked in Ethiopia and Kenya, and while we were in Kenya, I used to go up once every year to work with the Gamo team. Their Bible is now complete, and it's been waiting to be typeset for some years. The oldest guy in the team was almost 10 years older than I am, so he wasn't young. And now I am just praying, and I ask you to pray that he will survive until that Bible reaches his hands. Thank you.